One, two, one, two, three.
Well, welcome to the Sneaking Into Movies podcast. I'm Max Nathan.
And I'm Norman Davis. This week, we'll be talking about the critically acclaimed, as some call it, the best Marvel movie, Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
What are your general thoughts on Captain America: The Winter Soldier?
You know, I've had an interesting relationship with this movie over the years. I saw it back when it came out, obviously, opening night. I think by Iron Man 3, I was seeing all of these Marvel movies Thursday night, and as far as I can think off the top of my head, I haven't missed one yet. But yeah, obviously the hype was high for this one. Obviously coming off Avengers, it looked really good. Everyone was saying this is the best thing since sliced bread. It's a political thriller, and I remember loving it when I was younger. Had a little rocky road with it over the years with my rewatches. Kind of like it less and less. This is the first time I watched it, I think, since Endgame came out. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Since I've been here. But what's your relationship with this movie? Before I say how I feel about it this time around.
It's always one of those movies that I remember everybody liking, and I did too, but it didn't really feel at the time like it was that huge. Like, it wasn't like something that changed the game like Guardians did. I think Guardians came out shortly after this.
Another 2014 there.
It doesn't feel as impactful as the first Captain America for me. But it's still just a lot of fun. It was at the time. I think it is now. And yeah, I kind of just like this movie. It's good. I think it's got some really great elements to it, and some stuff that's kind of not great, but it's stuff that's not great across a lot of other Marvel movies, which we'll kind of get into. But yeah, that's kind of where my personal thoughts lie on Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Norman, let's start this off with some fun. Captain America in this movie has a list of things he has to catch up on from between the time that he went in the ice and when he woke up in 2011.
Right.
And on the
Big
list...
fan of that, by the way. That's one of my favorite little things in this whole movie. It's always stuck with me since I first saw it. It's just very cute.
Yeah. He's got a little notebook with a list of things he's got to catch up on. I also have a list somewhere called my Captain America list that, is stuff that I got to catch up on myself. And this movie is the where that term came from. So on the list, he's got I Love Lucy, the moon landing, the Berlin Wall, open parenthesis, up and down, close parentheses, Steve Jobs, Apple, disco, Thai food, Star Wars / Trek, Nirvana, band, Rocky 2, ? Trouble Man soundtrack. So yeah, that's what's on his list. He's got to try some Thai
Solid
food.
list, yeah.
Is he missing anything?
Big blind spot here, gaming.
He's got to get on Sonic.
Gotta get on Sonic, gotta get on Mario. I'm not sure if he might like Call of Duty. It might be a little bit too much for him.
Yeah.
A little gratuitous. But
yeah, no, he probably wants to get away from that stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I thought of while watching this is like, for like us, it was like, we watch like, a decade or whatever of Captain America movies. But for him, the whole like journey of Captain America in the MCU is like, he's like constantly at war. Like, he doesn't get a break.
No.
Except for like the little bit of Endgame, but you could argue that he's still, in that mind state. But yeah, he's constantly going. But yeah, I just got us off track. What else, Norman? What else are you thinking?
Probably horror movies.
Yeah.
They didn't really have those back in the day, and a lot of good ones between when he went in the ice and when he came back. So I think those are my two big ones. What would you put on
I think those are
Captain
good
America's list?
suggestions. I think he's got to watch. I would say watch The Iron Giant. I think he'd like that movie.
He probably would like that movie.
Um,
Maybe Superman. I don't know
yeah,
if that's a thing there, but Chris Ray's movie. I feel
yeah,
like he'd probably really like that and probably be
yeah,
like, oh, I should be like this guy.
yeah. This is what I was trying to do. Um, yeah, no, maybe what came out in the 2000s? Mm, maybe he should. I haven't seen it, but maybe he should watch The Sopranos.
I think
Everybody, yeah,
everyone should watch The Sopranos. I'm rewatching that right now, actually. So
yeah.
let me say that. But yeah, he's got a lot to catch up on.
You should put Captain America: The First Avenger on the list.
Yeah, movie better than this one.
Yeah.
Um, for my money. But yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I enjoy this movie. I will say I have a lot of problems with this movie. I don't think this is the perfect Marvel movie. I don't think it's a particularly great spy thriller either.
Why?
I don't think this movie has really anything interesting to say. Maybe a
Mm-hmm.
product of being a really, really big temple studio movie from a big studio.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's kind of this whole thing about, privacy and all of that, but what do they really say about this in this movie?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think there kind of became an issue with Captain America after the first Avengers movie where he does not really have a character in this or really an arc.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know how you feel about that. I think they just kind of turn this movie kind of feels like Avengers 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's a way bigger thing with Civil War being
Yeah.
Avengers Light, but I don't know. I think a lot of that character just feels lost because obviously we talked about First Avenger, but I also just happened to rewatch Avengers 1 recently for the first
Okay.
time in a long time. So, yeah, coming off of that, I don't know. He just feels a little more stale in this. He just kind of feels like an MCU character,
Yeah.
Like he loses a lot of what I really like about in his first two appearances. And I know it's to make it less cheesy, and after Avengers, everything had to have that just irony and everything. You can't do anything cool or a little cheesy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those are my big issues with the
Yeah. I
movie.
didn't even realize. Like, I think you are right about Captain America's arc or lack thereof being weak in this movie. He doesn't really um, change that much over the course of the movie. He has some uh, discovery as to what his role in the war like helped create. Like it sort of recontextualizes his understanding of his role in the war. But that's not really a character arc per se. Um, he's kind of the same throughout, but I think what the movie does with Captain America in the movie is interesting and good character work. It's just there's not like it's good character definition, I guess I would say, because I think that the movie does ask some, at least the very basic question of like, does the United States like national security apparatus actually keep us safe and free? I think that's something very interesting to tackle in like the scope of a Captain America movie. And if it doesn't, what would happen if like some very dangerous people took control of that power? Like what would Captain America do, who's a symbol of the nation, when the nation asks him to do something totally unethical? I think that's interesting as a concept, and I think that they probably went into this movie with the knowledge that there's a certain section of the population that thinks characters like Captain America or Superman are boring because they're just like Boy Scouts that just do what they're told, basically. Um, when in reality, those two characters are at their most interesting when you put them in situations where they're acting against the interests of the United States government.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think that you know him sort of, or Captain America in this case, like rebelling or having to rebel against the United States government is something that's pretty interesting given where we were in the last movie, where we were, fighting for America, I guess. It's just an interesting situation to put that character in. It's not that deep, as far as like where they take his character, like you said, but I really like what they do with the definition of Captain America, I guess,
Yeah,
and
I
putting
feel
him
you.
in this situation.
I do think it's an interesting situation, but yeah, like I said, I don't really think it leads to any interesting discussion in the movie. Just kind of all feels like, I don't know. It just feels like so we can get to a big helicarrier battle at the end.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think this movie's like good. It's entertaining. I think parts of it are a little slow. I do like this kind of started a trend of like other Avengers popping up in the not Avengers movies, which I
hmm
like. I think Black Widow's really good in this movie. Scarlett Johansson is might be my favorite Black Widow appearance.
hmm
Um,
she certainly gets the most to do in this one, I think.
yeah, it just feels very like comic booky to me. Just
Yeah.
having another character pop up, which this whole movie doesn't really, which is fine. Um, this just isn't my bread and butter for a comic book movie. Really, I'm
hmm
trying to see something different. I have seen, especially because I'm a lot older now. I've seen a lot of really good spy thrillers and political thrillers. Blah blah blah. Um, but yeah, those are just some of my more minor complaints. I have a couple more nitpicky things, but
Yeah.
we can get there when we get there. I will say, I think one of the biggest things now that I'm older, the fact that Robert Redford in this movie is awesome. That they got him
Yes.
for the villain in this. I like kind of knew who he was as a kid just because like my parents told me he's a legendary actor.
hmm
Now that I've seen a lot more of his movies, now that I'm older, it is very cool that he's in this movie.
Yeah.
And
And you've got
obviously,
Sam
he
Jackson
pops
as
up again
well.
in Endgame. Yes, Sam Jackson, uh, who's also really, really. This might be my favorite Nick Fury performance as well.
Yeah. He probably gets the most to do in this one as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So the movie starts with Cap jumping out of a plane. Did he have a parachute? No, he didn't. That's fun. Um, and he lands in the water next to the boat. He gets on the boat. He's hitting the absolute shit out of these dudes on the boat. I've seen, it's pretty graphic for a Marvel movie, if I'm being honest. Like the way that, like, how hard these dudes hit the side of the boat, or how hard he hits them or whatever. Their bodies just ragdoll. Like, it's crazy. I thought it was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, it really accentuates, like, they really start off by telling you or showing you that Captain America is not just a regular soldier guy who's got, great morals and, the heart of a hero. He is
Yeah.
a super capital superhero. Um, but yeah, what do you think of the action in this movie?
I think it's good. I will say with that boat scene, um, it feels very familiar to Metal Gear Solid 2, the opening of that
Mm,
game, which is really cool because, like I said, now I'm older and I've played that game a couple times. Now I freaking love that game. It's kind of cool to see. I don't know if they directly inspired by that. Never didn't really look into it, but cool. I do think the action is good. Um, this is probably my most normie anti Winter Soldier take, but I think some of the way they shoot it is almost abysmal. I would say, like
mm.
I think I hate shaky cam action.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
A lot of shaky cam action, a lot of really quick cuts to just make it look like more is going on than it is. But I think
hmm
there's some really solid action in this movie.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. Obviously, you get Batroc the Leaper at the start, just random
Hmm.
little Marvel character who
Yeah.
somehow made it all the way to Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
which that was a little fun. Um,
He might be in Brave New World, given where we left off in that
oh,
show,
I
right?
guess so. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I don't know.
Um, yeah, I think the action is pretty solid. I don't think it's the best from Marvel. It's definitely
Yeah,
up there.
I think your best action in a Marvel movie probably came from that bus scene in Shang-Chi, if I'm being honest. Uh,
Yeah, which is like the only good scene in that movie.
yeah.
For me.
um, yeah, Marvel's not really known for its like, technical action, uh,
Which you'd think
filmmaking. Yeah,
with
you would
superhero movies.
you would think, but they're more about, trying to define this in a better way, but the thing that's coming to mind is popcorn spectacle. Um,
For sure.
and that's not always, it sounds, you know, diminutive or something, but um, it's not always about, this guy showing up. It's about the little character moments as well. Like you said, when like Black Widow can show up in a movie like this. Like that's fun.
Hmm.
Or you have Cap jumps off the plane and Falcon or the helicarrier and Falcon swoops him up out of nowhere and there's this big sweeping moment. Like that's a lot of fun. Like that's kind of what they do. Like they they make moments.
Yeah.
Everything in Endgame basically. That's kind of the Marvel magic. But yeah, uh, that one. All that to say, that one scene in Shang-Chi is pretty good.
It is pretty good, yeah. But
um,
you brought up Falcon, who
yeah,
we'll be talking about more the next couple of weeks because obviously he is now Captain America, and
that's
the
why
next
we're
Captain
doing all the
America
Captain
movie.
America movies.
That's why we're doing all the Captain America movies. Doing it for our boy Sam Wilson.
Yeah,
What do you think of him in this movie?
I think he's probably like the best he's ever been in this movie. Unfortunately, because
I totally
yeah,
agree. Yeah, he's awesome in this movie. I remember being excited as a kid, and even now, I think it's so cool. Um, Obviously that first introduction when they throw Sitwell
yes, Jasper
when they
Sitwell.
when they throw Sitwell off the roof
Hmm.
and Falcon picks him up, really cool. I remember just thinking it was so cool seeing this guy fly around with wings
Hmm.
over the exploding helicarriers and all that. But
Yeah,
yeah, I do really like him. Obviously, the on your left thing, it's a classic now for more reasons than just this movie. But it is really
yeah.
cool. It does feel like a pretty natural friendship, and that yeah, he would call this guy who he figured out was all this military stuff because obviously Captain America doesn't have a lot of friends. He's from a
Especially
long
not in
time
this
ago.
movie.
No, I mean you see his girlfriend. She is a very old lady,
Hmm.
um, and his one other friend in this movie is not really his friend in this movie. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I was gonna say about Jasper Sitwell. Um, when they're on the boat, he's one of the hostages that they're going to rescue.
hmm
And there's one point where like Captain America like throws a shield through like straight through a guy or some shit. I don't even know what happened. He got rocked by the shield. And Jasper Sitwell's sitting there and he goes, "I told you. Shield doesn't negotiate with terrorists." And
yeah.
and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is not good. We're off to a bad start. They are doing the thing that people make fun of them for. Like that was the most egregious example of that kind of like filmmaking. That quip was just
This
like, oh
movie
my god."
does that a lot more than the first one.
Okay, but here's why I came around to it in the end. So he says that dorky ass shit. "I told you, Shield doesn't negotiate." Um, and I was like, "Oh fuck, that's not good. Um, and then, you learn he's a Hydra guy. And then I sort of come around to thinking like, oh, that's actually kind of funny because he's just a fucking dork. He's a stupid Nazi
Yeah.
dork. Um, and it's still, kind of stupid at the beginning. It's like, oh God, what are we doing here? But if you watch the movie a little more, and you're like, oh, this guy's kind of dorky. And he gets like a funny ass death scene. The Winter Soldier throws him so far across a highway, and he just, screams like a Looney Tune or something. Like it's quite funny. Um, but yeah, that's Jasper Sitwell in the movie. Back to Falcon. Um, I wish he had a little bit more color on his suit. That would have been
Yeah.
cool.
It has that
Um,
weird military look.
Yeah, it's got that silver and, I guess like platinum and dark gray um, suit. Um,
These
it's
movies
okay.
have to be really realistic for some reason.
Yeah, you have to believe that this guy is in the military or whatever. Like, put some red and white on that suit. Um,
And they never did.
they never did.
And it's a little late for that now, obviously. It's
Yeah, I
Captain
mean,
America.
there's
I mean, he's
red-
got red, white, and blue. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we never got that kind of comment. And they always tried. They gave him like red glasses and red
Mhm.
outlines. They gave him a little robot red wing.
Hmm.
But give him the real Falcon, Like
Yeah.
give him Red Wing, the actual
Yeah.
bird. Like
Do
people
the
are still
whole-
gonna watch these movies. It's gonna be okay. But he's still cool. I like Anthony Mackie a lot in these movies. Even though he kind of gets less and less to do. Obviously, he's about to get his own movie.
See, yeah. I like Anthony Mackie in these movies, but I don't know if I like Anthony Mackie as the lead of these movies. On the
We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, we got the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show. Pretty mixed bag in my opinion. I thought that Wyatt Russell carried that show for most of it, and then by the end they just totally assassinate that character.
Yeah.
Not literally, but they just stopped writing that character, I guess. Like I don't know what that was at the end of that show. That was probably one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah. The least natural
Yeah,
conclusion.
like I was like, what? These dudes just jumped him and like broke his arm, and he's just like, I was kind of being an asshole. Like,
Yeah.
what?
I had that coming.
Yeah, yeah. Like, this guy was like super soldier deranged like 5 seconds ago, and then he got sad and went home. Like, and he's all good. Like, no, it doesn't make any sense. Anyways, I'm getting too deep into Falcon and the Winter Soldier rant. Although maybe I should go deeper because this movie brings Sharon Carter into the fold, and that's a prominent character in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I think this character is so like empty. They've done nothing with her. She's kind of nothing in this movie. She ends up being like Peggy Carter's niece. You learn in Civil War, but that doesn't really matter here.
She's in. Yeah, she is in Civil War.
Yeah, and so in this movie, she's the neighbor, and she's also a SHIELD agent, and she does really nothing in this movie. She kind of just like points a gun at people, and then that's it. And then she's back in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and she's the power broker. Ooh,
Whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that means. It's probably nothing. Like, I don't think we see that character. Like, I don't know. Like, because what are they going to do? Like, make her, like, a big villain? Like, that doesn't... Like, it's just...
Yeah.
There's nothing there. There's just nothing. Over the course of... She's been in Winter Soldier, Civil War, the Falcon TV show, and they've done nothing in 3 things. So, if you've done nothing in 3 projects, 2 large films and a limited series, what are we doing with that character? Like, there's nothing going on with her. But yeah. Anyways, getting back to the actual movie at hand here. You have the Nick Fury, last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye line in here, which we later learned, he
And
lost
nothing.
he lost the eye to, an alien cat in the movie Captain Marvel. That's fine. That's something that the Russo brothers didn't know was going to happen. They probably just, that's kind of some of the problem with the Marvel mystery box stuff is like sometimes, you can get some really cool stuff where like they were clearly not planning that,
Yeah.
like the Red Skull going up into space. They were not saying, I guarantee, I don't know for sure, but I fucking guarantee you that when they were making the first Avenger, they were not saying like, oh, when he gets like zapped by the Tesseract, he goes to Vormir and he's going to become the keeper of the Soul Stone. They were not thinking of that at the time.
There's
no
literally
way.
no chance that's true.
Yeah.
In defense of the whole eye thing, Nick Fury is not going to go around telling people that he got his eye scratched off by a cat.
That is true.
He
is
would
a
make up
master.
some badass spy thing that you just assume was,
Yeah.
oh, there's some crazy mission with someone who betrayed him and shot his eye out or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just kind of aura farming at that point, if I'm being honest. But it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Regardless, I like him a lot in this movie. He doesn't really get much to do in the MCU after this. Obviously, he had that show that apparently sucked that I didn't watch.
Oh my god,
But
it was the worst.
as far as the movies go, he doesn't get a ton to do after this. So
Yeah.
I guess he's in Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
But between, I guess, the next Avengers movies, he's just kind of not really in it. Like, he's in Age of Ultron a little bit, and then he's just not in Infinity War and Endgame. Which,
Yeah.
what's he going to do in that situation, So,
Yeah.
I don't really blame him for not trying to.
shoot people. Shoot Thanos with bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that probably wouldn't do much. But yeah. The scene following Last Time I Trusted Someone, I Lost an Eye, I think is really good. It's, Sam Jackson tells this story about his great granddad, I think he says, about how he would walk home with a bag and people would like accost him and say like, "What's in the bag?" And he would show him, and there's like a ham sandwich or something and a loaded 22 Magnum. And he says that Granddad liked people, but he didn't trust them very much. And then you see the giant helicarriers that are designed to shoot millions of people at a time. And I think, that's what the big strength of this movie really is that push and pull between Captain America and the values of the United States. I think that is the most interesting part of the movie. He says, he pointing at the helicarriers, he says, "This isn't freedom. This is fear. You're not really, it's not freedom because you're pointing a gun at everybody's head."
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting. I think that's a good place to put Captain America as like a starter kit for a movie. Like you said, I don't know about everything they do. They don't really give his character that much depth beyond that, but I think that is a very crucial part of the character that you need to hit, and I don't know that any other Captain America project hits on that theme quite as well as this one does. Although there's some Civil War is kind of like a part 2 to this movie in some sense.
In some, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you say we take a quick break here before we talk about the man himself, the Winter Soldier?
Okay. Let's do it. And we're back, talking about a great American hero, Captain America. So, let's talk about the Winter Soldier. Um, Going into this movie when I was like 12 when this movie came out, um, I knew about the twist because I looked it up because I couldn't help myself back then. If there was some like little piece of knowledge that, there's some twist with the Winter Soldier, I was hearing that on my little 12-year-old comic book internet circles, and I was like, what's going on with the Winter Soldier? I looked it up. It's obviously Bucky. And that's pretty nuts. I don't think in 2014 I remembered the first Captain America or remembered Bucky from the first Captain America super well. So having looked that up might have made the movie better for me at that age because I don't know if I would have remembered Bucky. If I'm being quite honest from the first movie at the time. So yeah, no, but the Winter Soldier is really cool. What do you think about the Winter Soldier, Norman?
He is pretty cool. Crazy aura. Same thing. I knew the twist going in because I wanted to know who it was.
Yeah.
Obviously, they weren't too secretive about it. Like, it was kind of funny because they're trying to be like, who's the Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
I was just very clearly Sebastian Stan. But yeah, he's really cool in this movie. It was exciting to see him pop up. Obviously, that first scene where Cap fights him, pretty cool stuff. Kind of got that shapy, choppy editing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving that first fight, but no, he's great in this.
He's got that noise that
Yeah,
I did a horrible job of impersonating it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's got that cool gun.
Yep.
It like blows up Nick Fury's car.
Yep. That scene's really good. I was locked in the entire time that Nick Fury's getting shot at
Great stuff.
in the most strongest Cadillac Escalade in the world. Yeah. But yeah, that's a really great scene. That's the introduction to the Winter Soldier. This is like the only Marvel villain I feel like that's like, at least at the beginning before you know he's Bucky, is like genuinely scary. Like they do a good job of kind of like making him mysterious and
he's pretty intimidating.
Scary, intimidating, I guess. Yeah, that's probably a better word. But yeah, they do a really good job with the Winter Soldier in this movie. I really like the moment before the Nick Fury thing where Cap goes to the museum and looks at Bucky's plaque in the museum or display.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a kid that notices him and sees Captain America, and he like Captain America can see that the kid recognizes him, and he just gives him a little like shh motion. That's like a great moment. Like that's like, again, that is a small moment that makes these movies.
Some real superhero stuff.
Yes. You gotta have my superhero interact with a kid in some way. Like, give him the little, I'm Captain America, That's fun. That's really cool. One other thing that I thought was funny was when they're initially hunting Captain America down, Jasper Sitwell, who is revealed to be a Hydra agent or like a Nazi, he mentions, if somebody tweets about this guy, I want to know about it. I just thought that was a little funny, little bit of foreshadowing there. What do you think of him putting the flash drive in the vending machine? Because I have thoughts.
I like it. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But when you really think about it, it's like, really? That's your plan?
Yeah. why
I don't
did
know
he
if that's
put it there?
yeah.
Like,
Why do you
like
put it in a vending machine?
if like two people get Hubba Bubba, you're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the least. You should have put it behind like some, you know, I don't know, some yucky trail mix or something. Trail mix without candy. That's where you should have put it behind. I don't know. Not behind the Hubba Bubba. 3 rows down. That sucked. Of course, Black Widow took it. You're lucky someone else didn't take it.
Yeah,
Um, Gary Shandling coming back from Iron Man 2. That's pretty fun.
bet it's pretty funny. Yeah,
And him being Hydra. That's, you know, add some context to the contentiousness between him and Tony Stark. Potentially.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's cool seeing him back. Um, yeah, this movie's a pretty solid kind of supporting cast.
Yeah.
Obviously, Maria Hill's back. Toby Jones, Arnim Zola, pretty cool. Really like that Arnim Zola scene. I've always really liked
Yeah.
that Arnim Zola scene. Get a little Haley Atwell as an old lady.
Yep.
Our first introduction is Frank Grillo, who,
He's good in this movie.
yeah, I like him in this movie. So he becomes Crossbones, and then we see him again in Endgame.
Also, I'm nitpicking a little bit right now, but he comes back as Crossbones later, but like the way he dies, I don't think you're walking that one off, buddy.
Yeah, he just kind of has a scratch on his face
You
when he's
got
Crossbones.
you had a whole building fall on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not ideal. You don't want that to happen.
Not really, no.
We kind of get the precursor to Henry Cavill, like loading, like cocking his arms in Mission Impossible in this movie, because the Winter Soldier does a little thing where he like, when he gets electrocuted, he like rotates his arm all the way around really fast, and it's like a, it's like, that was cool. That was aura.
A lot of cool sounds comes
yes.
from the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, good sounds in this movie. I thought it was interesting how like relevant to contemporary like society this movie is. I don't know if like, how we were talking about the first Captain America and we were like, I don't know if you could say Nazis are bad these days. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if Disney would do that. I think Disney definitely wouldn't make this movie today, given its interesting similarities to a lot of the stuff that's going on right now.
I feel like they would, just because this movie doesn't say anything. It just kind of brings up ideas that we all...
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't really go crazy deep on any of it, but it...
Because it seems like, at least, they're trying to capture it in the marketing, but it seems like they're trying to get this vibe for a Brave New World.
I'm not picking up the vibes.
I'm not really either. It just seems like that's what they're going for. But then I see,
They do that. They do that all the time. Like, you can tell me, like, oh, we're bringing the Winter Soldier back. It's like, I see the trailer. Like, no, you're not. Like, you can tell me that as much as you want. That doesn't make it like real. Like, you can tell me the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to be Winter Soldier vibes. It wasn't. They've told us that like time and time again. You can tell me that Moon Knight is going to be this super mature show where he hits people really hard and there's lots of blood and stuff and it's going to be amazing and really mature. It's like, no, that show was stupid.
Don't get me started on Moon Knight.
Yeah. Yuck. Bad. Anyways. Do they mention, is Moon Knight one of the characters that gets mentioned in Jasper Sitwell's Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange, anybody who's a threat to Hydra? Like, is Moon Knight in there?
No, I think it's just Bruce Banner and Stephen Strange.
Because
I remember
they say like, yeah, that was cool.
I just remember being very excited when they said Stephen Strange.
Yeah, because this was before Doctor Strange.
Yeah, a couple of years before.
Yeah. But They say, I think a TV anchor in Cairo gets mentioned. That's not Moon Knight though.
No, I don't
But
know. I doubt it. I would be very surprised if that was supposed to be Moon Knight.
hmm
Because, yeah, like we said, they don't plan this out the way people think they do, where they're always 15 steps ahead.
hmm
Marvel's very good at lying about that,
Yeah.
which is fine and usually works out in their favor. But yeah, if you were gonna reference Moon Knight, I don't know why you would do it like they'd probably see like a mercenary in Cairo because
Maybe. Yeah.
probably Moon Knight spends most of his time in New York in the comics for some
Mhm.
reason. His whole show's in Egypt, but I don't want to talk about Moon Knight anymore. I get frustrated.
Too much pain.
Too
Uh,
much pain.
yeah, you recently told me that Ethan Hawke is your goat. That must have been particularly painful.
Yeah, very, very. Yeah, it sucked. um, that show was awful.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing they've done. That is like the most like character assassination they've done, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little Moon Knight rant, I guess. I
Yeah.
can go on all day about how much I hate that show.
Yeah.
But yeah, people realize he's cool again because of Marvel Rivals, which is exciting. Even though
Yeah.
he's really annoying in that game.
Yeah. What does he say over and over again? He says something about like onks.
Yeah, he like throws his unks. The moon haunts you. This is old,
Yeah.
very annoying stuff. Um, yeah, I don't know. That show sucks.
Yeah. Most of them do. Like they didn't really. I don't know. That's a whole nother discussion. But
Yeah.
yeah, no. Only like two of the shows they made are pretty good in my opinion. But yeah, moving on back to the Winter Soldier. I love when in that action scene between Captain America and the Winter Soldier, you see like it's pretty gritty. They like Captain America gets shot off the highway, goes straight into a like ragdoll, straight into a bus. Falcon has to like slide on like a car, like he's like sliding across the road. Um, and you know, Black Widow gets shot. Like you get to see an Avenger get like legit shot.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. But the best part of the scene is when the Winter Soldier's metal arm collides with Captain America's vibranium shield, and it sounds like Big Ben. That's like
Mm-hmm.
very fun sound design. Loved that.
It's like a dong.
Dong. Pretty fun. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of my entire. I think we covered the entire scope of the movie there. What do you think of like the ending?
Like the third act or like
Yeah, third act and the ending.
um I think the third act is fine. I don't know how you could call this a political thriller when the end of it is a bunch of pretty much spaceships flying around, blowing up and stuff. It's just a little, eh. I mean, that's kind of all Marvel movies are, but
Mm-hmm.
it just yeah, being this like people say it's a spy political thriller. No, it's not, bro. Like Washington D.C. almost like blows up, and like you see it happen. It's not like this thing where it's a bunch of people in rooms.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's these helicarriers blowing up and all of that. Um, I don't know. It makes for a fun set piece. I really like that final moment between Captain America and Bucky
Mm-hmm.
when they're beefing it out. Very cool stuff. But how do you feel about it?
I think it's fun. I think the entire thing is like it's a pretty propulsive action sequence, I guess. Like everybody's kind of in a different place and having to like pick each other up. Like Falcon's got to grab Captain America because he's falling off a spaceship, and you know, there's some people that are Hydra, and there's some people that are helping Captain America out. Nobody knows who's who. It's very chaotic, but it's a lot of fun. And as for the ending with him and Bucky, I think they end off in a really cool place with Bucky. I'm including kind of the post-credit scene here too, where Bucky goes to the museum and he's reading the Bucky display, like trying to remember his past. And that leaves you in a really compelling place for Civil War. I was watching this movie. I was very excited to watch Civil War after it.
Hmm.
And I think these movies, I know you watched Avengers, but I didn't. And I find these movies, it's like a totally different experience if you don't watch the movies that come in between. And I think they might even be like a little bit better on the basis that it's kind of fun to like you don't need to see the character development that happens in the Avengers to understand the Winter Soldier, and it's kind of cool that they start off in a very different place. You know what I mean?
It's kind of one of my issues with this movie. Like,
Oh,
I don't know. I just think, obviously it's cool. Like, you could just watch these three Captain America movies without anything else.
yeah.
But if you're having him in these other movies, just kind of talk about it more. Like Iron Man 3, obviously, I think does a much better job of being the post Avengers movie, where that movie's all about what Tony's dealing with
Hmm.
because of the Avengers. Um, Not that we just need a repeat of that, but just Captain America just it isn't really bugging him. He just fought a bunch of aliens,
Yeah.
like met a bunch of gods and all this stuff, which obviously is bigger. Like he's a man out of time or whatever. He's
Hmm.
got other fish to fry, but it's one of my issues with this movie.
Yeah.
After I guess watching Avengers as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna be brave enough to rewatch Age of Ultron before Civil War, but I know it kind of same deal.
I don't think I will be doing that.
Yeah.
Not that I hate Age of Ultron. I think it's fine, but you obviously get the tease at the end of this movie as well with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and Baron von Strucker, I think his name is, calls Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver miracles. And it's
Hmm.
like, looking back, I mean, they clearly were just trying to look for a buzzword that wasn't mutants. And I don't think miracles was the right word. Extremely nitpicky here. This word choice of words doesn't matter at all, really, to the grand scheme of Ultron or this movie. But
Hmm.
I don't know. With mutants, you can kind of like see how that could be like misconstrued as like, oh, like somebody that's different or in a potentially like bad way or something like that. But miracles sounds like unambiguously positive, and it's kind of weird when they're like, you know, this is the age of miracles, and you're kind of like teasing some potential villains. I don't know. It's just a rights thing. They couldn't use the word mutants. It is what it is.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Nitpick. Um, do you know how Anthony Mackie ended up in this movie?
I do not.
Um, he sent a series of emails to Marvel. I guess he wrote to Marvel Entertainment, like whatever, you go on the Marvel website and click contact us or something. He must have done it a lot because like, the studio repeatedly replied to him and said that they would like respond to him. And he caught the attention of Kevin Feige, who offered him the role. So yeah, I guess emails work. In 2014 at least, maybe, I don't know, that
Some
kind of
crazy
thing.
hustling, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, emails. Um,
If we're
but
going
yeah,
through little fun facts, this is the first of the Russo brothers movie and the first one to feature a community cameo.
yeah,
Uh, Danny Pudi as Abed, or not as Abed, who plays Abed, or who is Abed on Community, um, is in this movie. Very fun little cameo. I think they do a Community one in each of their movies,
hmm
so it's fun seeing him pop up.
that's actually
There.
a missed opportunity, though. It should be Abed. Abed should be in
Yeah,
every Russo brothers Marvel
he's
movie.
working for Shield.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it's cool when they do that. Talk about in Civil War, but there's a really big Arrested Development reference there, as well as one in Infinity War. I like when they do that though, because I love those shows.
yeah. Um, do you know how Robert Redford ended up in the movie?
No, I have no idea.
He wanted to do it because his grandkids are fans of the Marvel movies.
That tracks. It seems like a lot of older folks who star in these movies. I think that's why Michael Keaton came back for The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's always a sweet story to hear. It's like, how can you be mad at them?
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was I going to say to you? I had one more thing to say, but I forgot what it was. Um, yeah, just general thoughts on Captain America: The Winter Soldier to finish off.
It is solid. It's fine. I
I
don't love
agree.
it. It's not something I'm going to come back to as much as other Marvel movies. Some of my favorites, like the Guardians movies, Iron Man 3, some of the Avengers movies. But it gets the job done. I think now that I'm older, I'm just not as crazy about it. I find more issues. Like I said, I think Captain America doesn't really have a character or an arc in this movie. I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't really got a ton much else to say.
I kind of agree with you. I'm just kind of like okay on this movie. I think it is um, interesting how like relevant it is to the contemporary, but other than that, it's just kind of solid. Not that we're saying that like it's a bad thing. Uh, it's good. It's a good movie. It's fun. Got some good scenes, good moments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Pretty much like not like the peak of what Marvel can do, but this is kind of like the peak of what Marvel can do within the Marvel. Like the Russo brothers play really well within Marvel, and this is something we talked about yesterday, where I was
Only the
mentioning
place they
it
play well.
with Daredevil. They play well in the Marvel sandbox. They are good at making a solid Marvel movie and hitting all of the things that, Disney and Kevin Feige need to hit in a Marvel movie and making it
Mm-hmm.
make sense and really good. Whereas that's not the peak of where you can go with these characters. Like I think like what James Gunn does is like the peak of what you can do with these characters, and I think he gets a lot more freedom to do whatever he wants. Obviously on the third one because they fired him and then that was a whole thing, but even on the first two, like there's just James Gunn for whatever reason from the start, I think they let him do a lot more with these characters. Um, he's a good filmmaker, so maybe that's why. But yeah, we were talking about Daredevil this weekend. What was the thing that worried you so much about Daredevil?
The showrunner pretty much said that the worst part of the old show was when two people were just kind of talking about being a hero. Um, One of the best episodes of that show was two people talking about what it means to be a hero. So
Yeah,
I don't have high hopes. I think that trailer was pretty bad.
yeah. I was very much not a fan of the trailer, and the like news coming out of the show has been like a disaster. They had to rewrite the whole thing and reshoot some of it at some point. Um, Not great, but I think going forward, you're going to see a lot of this. Like with Daredevil coming in, like that's Daredevil, the Netflix show, is very different from the traditional Marvel product. You know what I mean?
Because it's really good.
Yes, but in like a very different way. Like it's a legitimate drama, and Marvel doesn't make legitimate dramas. That's not what they do, and that's fine. Um, they make spectacle, popcorn entertainment, which again, that's fine. But that you have to kind of realize that is what it is, because what's going to happen is we have these studio merging, these constant Um, you know, the constant studio merging is going to cause for a lot of characters to come into the fold in Disney and the other studios and whatever, and they're going to try to merge all this stuff into one little house. And it's going to kind of become this like homogenized crapshoot where all of it's going to kind of feel the same. It's going to be all looked at within the Marvel style. Like they're not really deviating too far from that, the way they traditionally make stuff. The only two things that I think really kind of like sort of did are Loki and X-Men 97. I think they did a good, and I think those shows are probably like some of the best stuff Marvel has ever done. I think you agree with that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
But
Uh,
I think like a lot of this stuff is going to work under the Marvel style, and they're also going to make a lot of stuff like Daredevil, where they're trying to fit a like square peg in a round hole.
mm-hmm.
Like they shouldn't have tried to make Netflix Daredevil because that's not what they do. But yeah, how do you feel about that statement?
I agree. Um, James Gunn will save us.
Yeah.
That's all I can think about. They
Yeah.
played that. I was watching the Chiefs Bills games last night,
Mm-hmm.
and they played a TV spot for Superman, and I swear I had enough adrenaline to walk through a wall. I'm just so excited for that. I'm so excited for everything he's doing.
Yeah.
The fact that he's getting like Mike Flanagan.
I'm
Mike
excited
Flanagan
for
just brings a
Clayface.
script. Yeah, brings a script. It's happening.
Yeah.
Luca's apparently if that Luca movie comes out, Marvel is going to be on insane amounts of fraud watch.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they kind of been 'cause even before James Gunn. We already have like the Batman. I don't know. I just wish they try. I don't know. It's super weird too because I feel like the MCU post Endgame has never felt more disconnected, which I'm fine with. I don't mind. Just why does it all feel so samey if it's not connected? Because at least with the excuse like before Endgame of everything kind of feeling a little samey,
Mm-hmm.
it was all leading up to the same thing. You know, it was all
Yeah.
leading up to Infinity War, and all of those characters were going there. And like there were the little pieces and everything of where everyone was going to be, what they were going to have to do, how they played their role in it, and we've kind of lost that. So now it just feels just super extra like corporate, samey,
Yeah.
safe. Now that there's no clear, like I said, I don't mind them not or everything not connecting super duper. You know, if this character pops up here, how does it relate to what he does in this or whatever? Or something could be like self-contained, or like Echo can. I haven't even watched Echo, but like Echo can exist without it like tying into Shang-Chi, and Shang-Chi can exist without tying into Hawkeye or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know.
I think that this movie does a good job of like the interconnectedness without going over the top with it. Like you don't need a character to show up, really. Like you can mention that Iron Man helped out with the helicarriers and they have propulsion technology like on Iron Man's suit. Like that's kind of a fun little interconnected universe thing that you can do without actually having the character show up.
Yeah, and it doesn't leave you asking questions of like, oh, well, you said that, but blah 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 blah. So
Yeah. But I think that's going to do it for us, unless you have
yeah.
anything else.
No, I'm excited to rewatch Civil War.
Me too.
I haven't seen that one in a while. I've always had mixed feelings on it. But yeah, I'm excited to that one. I've been wanting to. Obviously, we came up with this idea only a couple weeks ago. Civil War is one I've been wanting to rewatch for like a year and a half now. So now that I finally have an excuse, I don't know why. It's just kind of always in the back of my brain, even though I think there's some big old fat problems with that movie. But now that I have an excuse to rewatch it, I'm very excited to rewatch it. And once again, I hope Brave New World doesn't suck, but only time will tell.
Yep, and we're going to be talking about Companion next week, the new horror film starring Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher. Um, and then we're going to be talking about Super Bowl trailers after that, and then we're going to get to Captain America: Civil War. So stick with us. You're not going to want to miss those episodes.
Good stuff coming here.
Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, the whole thing. Repost if you like what we're doing here. And yeah, I think that'll do it for us. Thank you for sneaking in with us.
We'll see y'all next time.